Magdalena and I, we are the moderators of this webinar, podcast, or whatever you want to call it, or seminar. First, I would like everybody to welcome, and I'm very happy that also all our external invitees are here, and there are also other attendees listening in. And I hope this will be an interesting, like 75 minutes for everybody. The overview you can also view in the agenda online, but give a short overview now that we have an introduction round for the panelists, so not for every attendee, but for the panelists we invited. Then there will be like 5 minutes for every one of those to say who they are, what they do, what their interest is concerning the topic of Use It Smartly, like behavioral change of young people, teenager or adolescents, as we sometimes call them. Yes, should be like 5 minutes for everybody. Then we have for the discussion starter, we have a short kick-off input by Els Romes from the Netherlands, which is a project partner here. She will have a presentation, and hopefully we will manage that you can all see the presentation. And then a pair of Austrian IT peers made a short video about their project experience in Use It Smartly. And then we start with an open discussion, which will be the second main part of the webinar. And I will read the questions like one by one then, and I will not repeat them right now. And then we have a wrap-up session and the feedback session, the last 10 minutes. Okay, so I would like to say that I'm happy that everybody's here, and we can start with the short intro round. I would like to we start with Denmark, with Mette, if you would like to say some words about you and what you do and why you're interested in the project.
Yes, I work in Ung Energi, Young Energy, which is the youth department of sustainable energy. This is an NGO based in Denmark. And our goals is to promote sustainable energy and overall sustainable society in Denmark. Mm-hmm. And we have this relatively new youth department. Mm-hmm. that we have the goal to engage youth in this goal to show them what they can do and why this is important for them to get engaged in working on sustainability, sustainable energy. So we have these volunteers in Ung Energi that do all kinds of projects within the theme of sustainability. They work on sustainable consumption and food producing climate-friendly food, and they also work with a focus on energy. Mm-hmm. And this is why we have participated in this project. We have been lucky to have Toge and Lisbeth giving our volunteers education as IT peers, which they have been able to use in their work with other youths.
Okay, and this is and you have any special interest in Use It Smartly?
Yes, that is. We have participated in useITsmartly because we have these young volunteers, and they have been educated as IT peers.
Do you want to say anything else about yourself?
I'm good.
So then I would like to invite Anna and Christine to say some words about what they do and what their interests are.
Hello. We work for a website called Ung Energi, which literally translates young energy, and it's a website with articles, animations, and movies and projects about topics related to renewable energy and climate change. It's a project by the Norwegian University of Science and Technology and others. Did you want to hear more about us or our project, the website?
Both. I think if you're two people, you have like, there's sufficient time for that.
Okay, so about the website, our goal is to communicate some of the research and knowledge that exists about topics related to renewable energy to youth in a language and format that is understandable and interesting for youth. So you can put it like this: we translate science from professors to youth. That's what we're trying to do with our website.
Okay.
So we're all of us that is working on the website is between 17 and 23 years old. We're all students working on this.
Yes, some high school students and some university students.
Mm-hmm. And since when are you doing this?
It started in 2012, and we've been working since 2012 and 2013. So, yeah.
And you also already participated in the expert workshops in Eindhoven 2 years ago, or one of the...
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And after that, we wrote an article about the project and some of the tips that was shared during the workshop on our website. And we have participated on stands with Sarah and Robert, that is a part of the useITsmartly project. And we have also presented our website for the IT peers in Trondheim. Yeah, so that's much that.
So we've been doing some related to useITsmartly on our website, and it has been very good. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And then our next external partner, we also have already worked with him, Rüdiger from Austria.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Very well. Because the notebook I'm working with sometimes has some errors with the microphone.
No, we can
so
hear
if anything is missing, just tell me. Very well. Yeah, my name is Rudi Wetzel. I'm actually headed in Graz, in Austria. I am the owner of Computerdas, which is a company which has its strong focus on ecological, environmental, and social sustainability, and it's all about IT. So we're trying to shift some expert focus on green IT, clean IT, social IT. That's what we call our disciplines. It is a company, means we live from selling refurbished computers, but also having some knowledge, and this is why we are already as well very interested in this project. What is responsible IT? And actually, our motto is IT with responsibility in every aspect. And one of the aspects, which the biggest aspect, is actually about the handling of IT by young people, because we have a lot of practical experience about this topic. I'm giving sometimes lectures in schools about the topic. We have a lot of clients, to be honest, a lot of customers from every age, and as well young people. And I see from our practice, that young people have a lot of knowledge because they literally grow up with the technical devices, but at the same time it's sometimes missing kind of proper use of all those devices, proper in a way of what are the lines between responsible use, responsible in a way of energy efficient use, but also about the way of a proper use. What's the best way to say in English? Not to misuse these devices. That's my word, because I think it's a very new situation, which was not the case in earlier times, that a young generation might be more competent in a technical way, but still not, of course not, I would say, more competent in a way of life and maturity. And only recently a very interesting discussion with a doctor, which is actually a children doctor, and he already has, this is a strong example of course, but he has patients who actually are patients because they are not able with the proper handling anymore, because they have the whole internet in front of them, but no one is actually telling them what is right and what is wrong about it. So this is also something which, in our opinion, is something really to get a kind of, as you have a computer driving license, the European computer driving license is a technical thing. I think it might be very interesting to get a lot of input at a young age for this responsible way of using IT.
So this statement is in terms of the ability of internet users to process and be like in terms of self-management. What do you do with all the information you get?
And also how do I get the best out of the technique without getting, by the way, dependent on it? Because what we observe is a very fast-growing dependence on technical devices. Talking about smartphones, everyone has one. I don't know, about 10 years ago, parents would complain about their kids watching TV all the day, but still, there was a way to turn off the TV. You cannot do this with technical devices like smartphones and computers anymore, because you cannot make a 24 hours control of your children. This is not, of course, not the right way to do it. So there are a lot of questions coming up, and I think it's getting more and more about questions, and not all the answers are still there.
Okay. So the introduction round of the panelists is done. And now I would like to invite Els to give her kickoff presentation. Els, is it okay for you if I click through the slides?
I think that would be easiest, yes.
Yes, because you are registered as an attendee and you cannot do it, and I would have to promote you, and we had some hiccups yesterday doing that. So, but everybody can see my screen, right?
Okay. So actually the most important slide is the last slide, because on that slide you find where you can find more information about the project. So where on Facebook and on the websites, etc. What I will do the next 5 minutes, hopefully, is to present what our project is been about and what are the main results. So please, next slide. So the project is called useITsmartly, and it's about teaching environmentally friendly behavior for youth, for adolescents. It's funded by IEE, we always have to say that, and we are very thankful for them. And we have 5 participating countries. So next slide. And we've worked in 3 steps, and we're now in the last step. The project is almost finished. In the first step, we did research on the behavior of adolescents. We held focus group interviews, and we defined the most energy-consuming practices of adolescents. So I'll say a bit more about that step on the next slide, but first, step 2 was that we held creativity workshops with young people to find out which kinds of measures they would think would help to get ICT be used more smartly in terms of environment. And on the basis of all these ideas, we developed a toolbox that is available on our website and that you can use to find out ideas of how to save energy or how to recycle in the proper way, etc. So anyone who's interested in taking up some energy-friendly action, whether they be schools or whether they be adolescents themselves or whether they be a company like Rüdiger's, they can go to the toolbox and see which kinds of measures they can take that help them to be more friendly for ICT, for the environment. Then step 3, that's what we are finalizing right now. We have provided IT peer training, and we have been doing some multiplication, and that's where the women and girls from the useITsmartly, nice that you're here as well, have also been working in. So I'll also say a bit more about that. Please, next slide. So 1 slide per step. So this was the first step. We did interviews, focus group interviews with the youth, and we found that it's a very heterogeneous group, that they are all very different. Some are very interested in the environment, but actually most we found are not interested in the environment and even consider it a very unfashionable subject and boring, and they don't want to talk about it. So what we actually found with the adolescents that we interviewed is it's a bit problematic to create awareness and interest, particularly those related to the use of ICT. It's hardly known amongst youth, but I would say in general amongst the population how much energy and environmental problems are caused by the use of ICT. So a lot of work needs to be done there still. What we also found, and we also know from other research, of course, is that what they do with ICT youth is embedded with every kind of activity by now. They won't even go to the toilet without their phone, in principle. And so that makes it really hard. Both of these topics make it really hard to change anything. To reduce is almost impossible, and to have some different kinds of use is also very hard. But what we did find in these interviews is that as long as you fit with the lives that the young people lead, that it makes it easier. So what are young people focused on? They want their batteries to last longer. They want their equipment to not break down. So for instance, saying you have to turn off your laptop not just because of the environment, but also because then it doesn't break as easily. That's a smart way of doing it. They want their things to be easy to use and cheap. So that could, for example, lead to the kinds of things that Rudiger's company is working with, refurbishing old ICTs in a cheaper way. You have to fit with their practices. For instance, how to reduce their use of big screens and multiple screens at once. Some of them already watch their movies and their series in their bed with their smartphone, which is actually very good for the environment to do it that way. And several of them said that they feel a lot of pressure of being online, being available all the time, and that actually they would like it a lot if they would feel less pressure by the environment. But what all of this shows is that what they do is very embedded in their social network, in their environment, with their schools and demands. So it's very hard for individual adolescents to change their practices. It should be kind of a social, all working together thing. So that was the main results from step 1, our research, our orientation of what's going on, and where are opportunities to get change. Next slide shows step 2. That is the results from creativity workshops. In all countries we held workshops where we asked youth to come up with ideas of how to do good for the environment with IT. And the interesting thing is, what we found is, in this creative way, getting them to think about what could be changed, actually they did get very enthusiastic. Even though they felt that the environment is a very boring thing, when they were asked to think of things themselves, they felt very adult, very taken seriously, and they really engaged into this. So we had 232 ideas that came up from the youth themselves. And as I said before, these have been put into the toolbox, and you can look at the results on our website. Next slide, please. Now the last step, step 3, that's where we are in. What we've actually been doing last, and we're reporting on it right now. And I think we would like it a lot if the discussion would also give us some more input for this part. What we've been doing is providing education to a lot of peers. As the first speaker already said, in Ung Energy is an example of where we taught some youth to become a peer trainer. Now, in every country we held various workshops, sometimes as part of a school curriculum, so the youth had no choice but to follow our workshops, some with volunteers, like with Ung Energy, with youth that wanted to be trained for this. And actually we didn't find big differences between the volunteers and the obligated youth. They all kind of appreciated the workshops in an equal measure. What we did is we trained them, awareness-raising activities, we gave them facts, a lot of input on what's going on with useITsmartly, with being friendly for the environment with your IT, and we gave them soft skills, how to teach others, how to do peer-to-peer education. And a major part of all workshops was also to develop plans for multiplication, because that was the second step of the last step. That's a bit confusing the way I put it now. But the whole purpose of training youth was that they would train others again, so that you had peer-to-peer training. So next slide, please. This is some pictures of education, peer training that we gave. So as you see, hands-on experiences, but also theories, and also getting them to think. And then second slide.
Sorry.
The next slide, please.
Okay.
Yeah. On the right-hand side, you see more examples of this peer education, and on the left-hand side, as you can see, Ung Energi, this one in Norway, is an example of already a multiplication activity. So this is something that the youth themselves did. This is peer-to-peer training in progress, what you see. It is at the university, and it's young people who have been educated by us, but actually educating other young people. Next slide. And this multiplication, this is another example of multiplication process, took many forms, but actually what we found is that the youth actually that were trained by us preferred to do this multiplication. In other words, they preferred to teach their peers with social media activities. So a lot of them were actually scared to stand in front of the classroom or even to speak with other youth and to stand out as a person who's interested into the environment, because again, it's not fashionable, but also it's a bit scary to stand in front of a classroom with all your peers and say you should take care of the environment. So an activity like you see here is felt as more comfortable for peer-to-peer training, which is in this case to turn off your IT, to challenge other peers to turn off their IT for an hour. Next slide. So our conclusions, particularly from the multiplication part, so peers training other peers, is, well, we think it should be more effective if peers educate other peers rather than having some old people say you shouldn't do this or you should do that. So our idea is that it's more effective. And what we found is what is crucial for this multiplication to in fact do happen is that you need a lot of support of the school, and that it's going to be part of the training but not be done as part of their private time. And that for peers it's very important to focus on concrete elements, to focus on one thing that can be changed that's very easy and concrete to change. For example, for what to do with your e-waste, or to not have your laptop in standby all the time. So one measure, very simple, concrete, is easiest to use for peer-to-peer education and training. And that direct peer-to-peer interaction is seen as challenging by the youth, and that they prefer actually to do social media activities. And I think after me we'll see an example of such a peer-to-peer training that goes through social media. In general, we found it very hard to assess the impact of everything that we've been doing, but particularly hard to assess the impact of the multiplication activities. But on the basis of literature, we expect this to have been effective and changing the practices of the youth. Last slide. As I said, this is the main slide because here you can find where you really can find a lot of more information about each of the steps and what we've been doing. So thank you. Was that 5 minutes?
Thank you very much.
You were perfect in time. Yes.
Thank you.
So, thanks, Els. And joining this short input, we would like also to present the view of the IT peers.
And we're both IT peers from here.
Yes, last week we spent 3 days from the 21st of April to the 23rd April at the Jugendherberge Group an der Mur. And we are very happy to be a member of this project. It was nice to meet new people and to learn, talk about and discover new parts of the energy.
Yeah, I was especially interested in the topic of success because to me it's all about how big companies are trying to manipulate us standard customers with, for example, them making reducing the lifespan of standard, normal, simple light bulb. So we have to buy it much more frequently than we would normally.
Yes, the topic in which I was most interested in
is the smart city, because I live in Vienna, and Vienna is becoming more and more a smart city. And it's a great benefit of living in a smart city, because you can use the public transport to get anywhere you want, so you don't need to use cars. And the second topic, which I want to do everything, is the grey energy, because it's horrible and fascinating how much energy is wasted for transport of resources which you need for an example for our mobile phone.
Yeah, we also had certain difficulties with presenting in front of this many people. Me, for example, I was very nervous while talking in front of such a big crowd. Another difficulty was getting the students involved into this topic and their attention. So I didn't just try to talk about the topic and talk about how to change the environment, how we can change our environment for the better, but I tried to make the students themselves think about how they can change their environment, how they can make an impact. And to me, that's that's important, if not the most important fact, the most important aspect of green IT, to get the people involved.
Yes, last but not least, we had a lot of fun, and we both would take a part of such training anytime again. And thank you for letting us be a part of this project, and have a nice day. Here.
Okay.
Okay. I give back to Thomas.
Thanks. I mean, did you understand it, most of you?
Not everything, but
Okay.
most of it.
Most of it, yeah. It was like a little interrupted. At least I'm just in the next office. It was not ideal. Yeah. But I think there were some important points that also already came up in Elle's presentation that were interesting for them, like the planned obsolecy of products, but also from their experience that they were very nervous, like talking in front of big crowds and so on. But I think they had at least as what we know, that it was a nice experience for them to participate. Okay. Now we go into the open discussion phase of the webinar, and we will have 3 open questions. And the first, I will just walk you through the questions. The first question is like, in the experience of our invited experts, what are the best ways to reach young people to change their energy consumption? But then the second question would be, what can other actors that are also, of course, involved in this process, like politics or industry, do to engage with youth and the energy behavior? So not just like from this individual point of view, what can they do in their everyday lives? And then what is also interesting to us and maybe to others, maybe if we share other good examples, initiatives or projects that address youth in an effective way. And I would like to start to open with the first question. What are the best ways to reach young people and to change their energy consumption? Does anybody want to start?
Yeah, why not? Me, Julie.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Hello. Yes.
Could you just say shortly who you are?
Yeah. So I'm a French working in Amsterdam for the company Green IT Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. We are promoting energy efficiency, and with the help of 35 companies, mostly IT provider, technology provider, and education. And we are testing, scouting, and piloting projects within the region of Amsterdam and also at the European level to increase the energy efficiency and decrease the greenhouse gases.
So we are mostly in the energy transition within the region. And so I'm 25, so I know some of the, because most of my friends or network that they are not really in the sustainable development or this kind of responsibility that everybody does have in the climate change. And I think the most powerful tool will be will have to come from the companies, because it's the companies who are dictating the standards, dictating the trends. So I think that if companies really wanted to promote energy efficiency, they'll do thanks to better product, better strategy towards everybody, but also because we also have projects using data analytics and visualization. So this kind of combined technology, so smart technology, will provide young people a better understanding of their own energy consumption. So I think politics will have to, it has to be a combined strategy with companies and politics to enable more smart application or smart platform to better understand and make people move forward.
Okay, thanks. Since we have a member, like, say, who owns a company in the IT area, I would like to ask Rüdiger what he thinks about this kind of statement from our colleague from Amsterdam.
Yeah, I think she puts the issue on the right point. One thing is, from a company's point of view, I wouldn't say our company thinks like that, but it's a very common thing. If you want to sell something, and especially in the IT sector or in the mobile phone sector, you actually want to create a trend that you're omnipresent with your smartphone. Actually, the trend is you cannot be without it, which I think, to be honest, is a totally wrong approach. But this is what the industry thinks, I guess. This is why there are certain promotions like change your phone all the time, because it's always new and it's always with you. That's the big point about it. It's part of your life. Actually, you don't have the life if you don't have the phone with you. So this is a kind of dangerous trend. But then on the other hand, there's one thing. I don't think this is maybe some kind of marketing issues. The marketing of a company actually works like that. In our experience, it's not exactly that the company itself always thinks like that. So what it needs in this case probably is to connect the companies with certain other stakeholders, and especially the responsible persons in the company, which is not marketing, in my opinion. It's rather the top level management, which is usually quite open about the responsible use of IT devices of all kinds. I mean, talking about Amsterdam, it's home of the Fairphone, as you all know, probably.
I'm gonna buy it now.
Yeah, and we are very happy to say that we are going to be one of the first resellers in Austria.
Cool.
At least we are negotiating about. It's great for us. But what I want to say is, I think they are not exactly, the Fairphone is a kind of milestone in showing that there's a different way to have a smartphone, and also it's about a different behavior of using it. It's all about responsible use, but still, and that's very interesting, it's a trendy thing. And they're very successful in media work because it's something new and it's kind of very popular in the community. And I think it can be one of these very good examples how to change things like that. But still, I do know in Austria we have some mobile phone providers which show themselves from a more responsible side and others which don't. but it needs, and I'm with you on that, Julie. It needs really the connection with the companies in this case, and I think they're ready to do it as long, and this is the main part also, as long as you don't tell them they're losing business here. But just because someone is using a phone maybe only 10 hours instead of 20 hours, you wouldn't lose any business.
Yeah, true, because also in our world, money is the power, so we have to counteract this and show that smart IT solution and sustainable development is also an economical value. So, okay, we won't be saving money right now, but in the future you will 100% sure will save money. So that's also the message we need to promote to.
Okay, so we somehow got right into the second question, like on different actors like politics and the industry. But maybe I'll try again, and of course it all is interconnected. But in the experience of Anna and Christine, what do you think is the best way to reach young people and maybe give them advice or change their energy consumption behavior with information and communication technologies?
Maybe I can start with that, because
you start.
I was at the Austrian Reuse conference yesterday, and we are discussing things like that heavily. One thing I see is actually, and that's one of the big things about the discussions, that there's the group of the young people, the youth, which is absolute front runners in using the devices, and then on the other side is the companies, which make the money about this. The companies doesn't only mean those who sell the phones. It's all about the app mania, all the stuff, which is the other front runners. And then, unfortunately, it seems that most of the other stakeholders are far behind in this whole thing. Far behind in way of experience, far behind in way of negative output, actually. And it seems that people are just looking behind. I was just in a school just before for some IT services, and it's amazing. So the teachers in school, for example, have less, it seems, some, especially the older teachers, but most of the teachers today are still the older ones, they have absolute not a lot of ideas about using or technique, while the kids, the 6- and 7-year-olds, imagine, they're totally into it already. So
it's a generation question of generations.
So it needs, in my opinion, it needs really some upgrade, if you want to say it in a technical expression, an upgrade of not exactly technical experience, but behavioral experience from the other stakeholders. Also politics. Who are the politics? Mainly it's people starting 50 years or maybe 45 if you're lucky. If you're lucky, they're nice users of these devices, but actually they're the same kids, if you want, in using them responsibly. And the kids, at least, they're, in my opinion, they have more speed in developing their behavior, while the old people, it's not really a nice expression, the more mature people in age are not exactly more mature in using the technical devices. Especially parents have actually no idea, it seems, very often, to teach their kids, to educate their kids in proper using whatever device. So we have these two front runners, and then we have the rest of the stakeholders, which is far behind, and so it needs, in my opinion, just a lot of communication about the topic itself, and then getting into it to get on the same level, so that people can act properly.
So maybe now, Anna and Christina, what do you think about this topic? Really, and Rüdiger just gave his opinion about
this question.
Yes, how to approach the behavioral change of young people, and what's the difference between younger people and elderly people?
I think you can talk to young people as much as you want, but it won't really help unless the youth realize that it's possible to do something to help the environment without giving up too much, like sacrificing too much of our time. Because if I can watch a movie on a smaller screen which is more environmentally friendly, I will do it. Probably not because it is more environmentally friendly, but because it's more convenient for me. You know. So I think it's about finding ways to ideas how to make how to do things more environmentally friendly that doesn't demand too much.
And what is the best incentive or entry point to engage with young people if you want to talk about these topics?
I don't really understand what you meant.
Now, how do you approach, or in your experience, what are interests of young people that could be, let's say, combined with ICT and more environmentally friendly products or energy savings? What do you think is important to mention if you want to combine this? Because you said the interest is not there from the beginning.
I think it's a lot of talk about climate change and energy saving, and it could be too overwhelming for us. So to actually talk directly with young people about what we could do something about, and not too big about everything else that we can't do anything about right now.
So you say that it is it's always the talk about the whole big picture and saving the world, and that is overwhelming.
Yeah, when it gets overwhelming, a lot of people we have talked with get the impression that I can't do anything anyway, and it doesn't matter in the big picture because it's so much other stuff, and you don't focus on it at all. Yes.
And how do you approach this problem? Thinking small or talking about the smaller stuff then?
Yeah, I think it's just like turning off the computer and removing the recharger from the socket and start small. I think it's a better way than to save the world. It's impossible. It feels like. So, but I think talking friends to friends is or inside the family is more effective than to go to big events because then you kind of forget it when you come home. But if you talk about it in the home and with friends, I think it could be more effective.
Okay, so this is like this peer-to-peer approach we tried to build up in useITsmartly. It's actually, if I understood you correctly, it's a good way to approach them, right?
Yeah, we think it's a good way.
Okay.
Maybe I might add to that. Actually, there's a big chance as well, as I stated before. Instead of user experience, it's mostly or very often it's the young people who are in front of the older ones. Actually, there's a very good chance that the peers and those who learn from the peers educate the parents, for example. Because it's a family thing, I guess. Yeah, because if you see in your family, we know families who change their mobile phones every 6 months. And if you see this as an example from your parents, so why should you do different? If you were a slave of the consumer nation, why should you do different? So if you really get some great input in school or from peer training, actually you and I think it might be cool to motivate those young people to really tell them you are actually front runners. You're not only front runners in a user experience, you're actually front runners in a way of educating those people who tell you what to do every day. and I think that might be some nice input for them in a kind of self-esteem, which we see as well might help.
Just information for all the other attendees and panelists. If you want to say something, you can click and raise a hand, and I can set you up for to actively participate in a discussion. Just for everybody, the information. I think we can see you then if you want to say something. But then I want to ask our other expert, like Mette, in her experience, what do you think when you heard like Rüdiger and our colleagues from Norway talking about this point? And
yes, I agree that peer-to-peer is very effective. We also use this youth-to-youth education in our work with the volunteers. They go to high schools, they do events where they talk to other youths about these subjects.
yeah.
And we, of course, talk about, as I said before, we talk about other more things than only energy and IT, but we also talk about the energy consumption. And we try to present the advices and the knowledge in a fun and alternative way, and to tell the youth that it's not bad for you to do this. It can be a positive alternative. And I can give some examples. We have these advices that we tell people: use second-hand instead of shopping. Go to a festival instead of taking a flight. We have these limericks that rhyme in Danish, works better in Danish. And then we have these materials that looks like it's from a pop concert or something. So it looks, it doesn't look like the typical raised pointy finger that tells you do not do this because it's bad for the environment. And then all of this we want to show it, or we want to show the youths that we go to that they can be part of this movement, and that sustainability is cool. So we have this group of volunteers that are together. They have this community where they feel part of a group, they feel part of the same identity as a young energy volunteer, and that gives them the courage, I think, to go out and talk to other youths, because they're also nervous, but then they go out with their t-shirt with Ung Energi written on, and they go out together with the rest of the volunteers that they're friends with, and then they go out and say to other youths, you can make a difference, and you can do it together with us, and we're cool. So that's our perspective on things, and that's how we communicate to other youths to get engaged in these subjects. So this peer-to-peer is also very much what we're working with.
Yes, and I would like to maybe reframe the first question a little bit and ask you, what do you think is a good way to establish this kind of peer-to-peer approach, like making youths on a small scale level engage with each other? Is this, we used a lot of schools and our contact with schools in the project, but maybe somebody else has ideas how to make this peer-to-peer approach work for this purpose of making ICT more environmental friendly.
I can say
yes, please.
Yes. Give examples. We also go to schools. That's a very good way to enter the youth. And other than that, we have these volunteer groups in Ung Energi that does their own projects, and they decide themselves where they go. But often they go where the youth already are. So it's on festivals. Music festivals. They have done some. That's focused on sustainable energy. So they have done some charge your mobile phone with the sustainable energy on this festival thing, and then they have also done like social events, kind of in youth houses or culture houses in their local communities, where they invite the youth.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe the colleague from Amsterdam, Julie, do you have experience with this kind of peer-to-peer approach in your work?
With YAOS, not really, because the project we are implementing, it's focusing on cities and citizen initiatives, and it's not now really targeted to youth. So, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. It was just an interesting point for me. We already talked a little bit about it. But I would like to just repeat the second question, like what can other actors like politics or industry do to make the engagement with youth on their energy behavior more efficient? And maybe I'll ask again first our younger colleagues from Anna and Christina, what they think is a good way for companies to interact with this problem.
Well, I think we agree in a lot of what was said earlier. And it's also, if you not only see on the companies that is selling the items, but like the companies where our parents work, and they like get a new phone from on a work like every year, and it shows us that like, okay, our parents always have the precious phone, the precious computers, so why shouldn't I? Yeah. But I think we mostly agree with what we said earlier.
Yes. So I think it's good that phone repair shops are more common because I think it's important to raise awareness about you can actually repair your phone and your computer. You don't have to buy a new one. Just because the screen broke, you can actually replace the screen. So
this kind of a modular design of devices that you don't have to replace the whole thing, that would be like an interesting way to make it more attractive for young people to think about this.
Also, you save money, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
We had this topic of awareness raising quite a couple of times within the project, but what do you think? What's the best way amongst youth to raise their awareness? It's the peer-to-peer education thing. How do you do it?
Well, our project, the whole project with our website is peer-to-peer. We're only students making everything on the website for students. So that's what we have worked with, and we think it works. But I think, like, when it comes to what can other actors do, it's you have to get people to think different, and we young people often feel that we have to have the precious and we have to use it, and if we don't have it, then we can't participate with our friends and well, stuff that is happening.
Yeah.
And what was the aim of this website? How did you choose the topics you were going with?
The renewable energy?
Yes.
Well, I think it's the project. The website is an initiative from a research center at the university in Trondheim. So they decided that we should start out writing about the most common sources of renewable energy, and then it just expanded from there. So we want to have a lot of different text, videos, etc. about anything related to renewable energy, climate, and yeah.
Okay, so did you just put everything on there you thought it is interesting, or had you like and more like a picture or an idea in mind? What is a good way, or what is good information for our target group and what is not?
We try to relate to high schools.
Okay.
So we have to look a lot on what you have to learn at high school, and then we try to see how could this be about renewable energy and climate change.
Because it's easier for the schools to use the stuff at our website if we have it directly related to the curriculum. So, and we also believe that schools are good or enough for awareness. So therefore we try to make the website user-friendly for schools.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a lot like when you have to learn about some chemical reactions, why can't you learn about them and use the climate change or energy saving as an example?
Okay. We have like 12 minutes left from our 75 minutes. Just for the last question, what are other good examples, like initiatives or projects that also addressed youth in a very effective way? And I would say, let's see this question more broadly. It must not be exactly ICT, but any other environmental or sustainable issue. I just asked it open in our panel.
Does anybody know something which we maybe do not know about, or?
Okay, no, if nothing comes up, then nothing comes up. It's no problem.
I can mention something small. No, from my practice in also transport a lot of information about these issues, especially from the refurbishment point of view. There's one thing to see, and this is also what we deliver all the time, wherever it is. The most efficient by far, from an environmental point of view, is to raise the use time the lifespan of the user of the device itself. Means, I think in Austria the average use of a smartphone is 2 to 3 years, which is actually quite long already. But if you could raise this to 3 years, you have made a huge impact, because there's actually more than 50% of the whole resource question. It's not only about energy. I think it's important to mention that energy is just one thing, but it's all about the whole resource question. And a big charge of the resource is actually coming from the production itself. So if you really get through to the people, and I wouldn't say that only for young people. If you really say it's so easy to become more responsible by raise the lifespan of your device. This is not hard on the one hand, and it's really, really effective. It's very funny, maybe, because we are thinking about selling the Fairphone now, and put on around Facebook site. I put on the question of feedback. Would people buy that actually? Because it's quite expensive actually. And many people actually give us very interesting. Many people say, yeah, well, I'm using my phone for 4 or 5 years. It was amazing. It's incredible. Of course, this is a group which is already very positively affected about environmental issues. But actually the point is, it's a whole different value set that they bring in here. They say it's a device for using it. Who knows? Maybe they have the same dependency as young people as well. But this is by far, as I said, this is by far the most effective thing to do. And it's not about you have to buy a refurbished phone. It's not about that, because this is not really cool for everyone. Maybe it becomes a trend as well, but it's really about if you manage to raise this user spend about 20-30%, I can give you hard facts about what really brings that in a positive way of resources. This is interesting because you can catch a lot of stakeholders with this question. You can catch the industry about this. You can catch politicians about this, because this is going around the world. It's a topic that everyone is actually affected about. And the young people as well at the end of the time. So this might be interesting. And I think every channel is fine, and yeah, probably the online channels are most effective about this. But I also like the good old offline presentation in schools. If you give the kids the chance to ask things and also really get their feedback and really ask about what they think about, because this is of course something that is not happening all the time. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We are about to close the webinar. We have like 5 minutes left, and if somebody has some very pressing thing to say right now, should raise a hand or raise his or her voice right now, because otherwise I would like wrap up the webinar. Actually, Julie, our participant from Amsterdam, just left, and she will send us more information on some kind of partnership program I see there. I think we just posted online for everybody to see. I don't understand it right now, right? Correct. Do you understand it, Magdalena, what she wrote there?
I think she just wanted to tell us about this good examples initiatives that they did with partnership with an university, and they built a green lab for hardware and software where students were invited to participate and test components. But we will post something more about this.
But then I'll thank everybody for joining us, and before you go, I would like to give you the opportunity to give us a little feedback on what you think about this kind of format of webinar we used for the first time in our project as well. How did you think? Did you like it, or was it like confusing?
I think it was great. The only thing is I'm using Linux, and that GoToWebinar doesn't work with Linux.
Okay.
So I actually had to open a Windows session, a virtual session.
Good to know.
Then it works, but not everyone can do it.
Okay.
It was very nice, but I felt it was very nice. This is Els, and a bit weird to not see who is speaking. Only the moderators were visible all the time. And what I really liked is these little tweets that you showed in the meantime. So thank you for that.
Thanks to our social media colleagues.
If I may also give a feedback, it's quite a lot going on there if you're a moderator. It's various chat feeds and so on. It was confusing for the first time. Yeah. Okay. Maybe Mette, do you want to say something?
I think it was good webinar, good presentations, maybe some more time the next time. That's the only thing, so that's a positive.
Okay, yeah, but we've discussed a lot about this, but I thought we thought that a time frame has to be like fit into an everyday activity and not like be 3 hours or so on. And, yeah. It's always like you have to level out between about the content, who you want to reach, and so on, and what is a feasible amount of time everybody is willing to spend during a work day. Yes. So, Magdalena, did you like it?
Yes, I liked it. It worked out really well, and I think we will wrap up the whole thing. I think some things are already online on the social media channels, and we will cut the audio and put it online on the website.
Let's see how well the recording is and what we can actually do with it. I'm not sure it right now. Yeah. But thanks again to everybody who presented and everybody who engaged in discussion. And some of you we will meet face to face again, and some of you maybe online. So thanks for joining us, and
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.